Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today we're going to go over the upcoming college football playoff games and how they're kind of the matchups and what we're looking at here, as well as kind of some of my thoughts about Miami and Notre Dame and opting out of Miami getting in, Notre Dame not being in, and then of course subsequently declining a bowl invite and how that I think that is not good for the sport. But right away, right at the top, we're going to start off with tonight. Actually, South Florida's playing Old Dominion, Delaware, and Louisiana, kind of wrapping up the last few games of the season. And then tomorrow, Arkansas State plays Missouri State. Those are interesting games, but in and of themselves, not particularly relevant to the playoff scene as that has already been locked in. However, on Friday, we get to the real meat and potatoes. Alabama and Oklahoma. Now, if you've been following football at all, you know that earlier this season, Oklahoma did beat Alabama. And in the past, Alabama has had some struggles against Oklahoma. They lost them on a couple occasions prior. For whatever reason, Oklahoma seems to have their number to a certain extent. Like, obviously, not every time, but seems to be the case. That is the first round of the college football playoff. That's 8 p.m. on Friday, December 19th. That's in a couple days here. So I really think I don't know that that luck can continue for Oklahoma, but realistically, I do hope they do. I do hope Oklahoma beats Alabama again. Now, mind you, it's not a hate. This is not a haters thing at Alabama. I think that Alabama is a fine team. I don't think they'll, even if they beat Oklahoma, I don't think they make it past the next round. But not against Alabama so much as I would just want to see Oklahoma win. So I think they had the better team just in general, and there is a there's a formula in place of how to beat Alabama. Just stop them from throwing the ball, forcing a run, and yeah. Now, mind you, that's a very simplified version of it, but yes, that is what I think needs to happen. So I think that Oklahoma, if they do that, I think they beat Alabama. Western Michigan's playing Kennesaw State, and NC State is playing Memphis those same days. So if you're fans of those teams, go team, go. Can't say as I'm worried. Let's just say I hope Kennesaw State and NC State win. Just to say I want somebody to win. And then Saturday, obviously, is when you really start to get some big time matchups. Tulane plays Ole Miss. For those of you who are following that kind of the drama with Lane Kiffin leading Ole Miss, that is going to be interesting to see how they play without him being there. Apparently, the school did not allow him to stay and coach. So, excuse me, that is that kind of drama and see how that did that negatively affect the players, or did the players get a kind of a internal morale boost and say, hey, we don't need our coach to be here. Now, do they need him to be there? They should have, yes, but let's just see if they use that as motivation to make a push through the playoffs. We'll see. Could be interesting. uh, I like Tulane, and I like what John Summerall has done there, and I know that he is going over to Florida after this season. But I respect Tulane. I think that, dude, I think they deserve to be there. That's debatable, if they deserve it, but they are there. So hey, you know what? They're there. There's nothing we can do about it now. So let's hope that it's a good game. I think Ole Miss wins that one, yes, but Tulane will show up. So then you have Miami of Florida versus Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M wins this game, and there is a kind of a particular reason why. Miami is playing at Kyle Field. They have not played in a stadium with over 70,000 people prior to this game. There will be a packed out stadium at Kyle Field. It is going to be rocking. If they manage to beat it, will yeah. If they manage to beat Texas A&M, it'll be nothing short of a miracle. It really will. I think that home crowd is going to be so fired up. I think at Texas A&M, I think Texas A&M beats Miami at home without question. So yeah, Miami, good luck. That's all I'm going to say there. Texas A&M wins. And then of course, kind of the more comedy one, James Madison, Oregon. Now, if any of you have followed anything about this, James Madison has been trolling the fans. It's been good fun. It hasn't been anything toxic or anything. It's been really fun because James Madison knows they're lucky to be there. B, they know they're probably going to lose. Their social media team has been really busy making fun of Oregon, kind of poking fun. It's been good fun. So I think Oregon is win? Absolutely. But I think James Madison is going to be. They're just there to have fun, and I think that's kind of in some ways you need that in the sport. So I think James Madison does get steamrolled. But hey, you know what? They made it there. They showed up. They earned the right to be there. Whether I agree with it or not, it's down to me. They earned the right to be there. So hey, let's appreciate having them there. And I'm sure Oregon wins, but it should be a fun game. And it could be a blowout, but hey, they're just having fun. So let's let them have fun. And then next week, Monday, Utah State plays Washington State. Next Tuesday, Louisville and Toledo, Southern Miss and Western Kentucky, Ohio, UNLV. That's your flavor. Love some action going on. Louisville, Toledo. I believe these are some minor bowl games, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't care. Not even gonna lie to you. Don't care about these. Uh, good for them. Louisville playing Toledo is kind of odd, but my guess is Toledo was. Let's see what their record was, if it even shows me. Toledo was 8-4, so it's definitely a. I mean, they showed up most of the season, so it's good for them. I know a couple seasons ago they were really awful, so hey, good for them for winning, but yeah, not particularly excited about that. Wednesday, California plays Hawaii. Friday the 26th, uh, Northwestern plays Central Michigan. Minnesota plays New Mexico, and UTSA plays FIU. Um, Closer to those games, I might do kind of a more in-depth look once it gets around to them. But I mean, some of those are going to be fun games and opportunities for you guys really to put tape, put on stuff on film, like tape for scouts to look at it, if any of these guys are NFL prospects at all. That's going to be the last. So for some of them, it's the last opportunity. So good for them, but yeah. And then we got Saturday, December 27th. We have some bigger games, and here's where some. And the first game I'll talk about real quick is BYU Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech unfortunately did lose a couple games they need to win to get into playoffs. That does not fall on them. They weren't going to make it at that point. BYU, however, I feel like they should be in because they had two losses, both to the same team, and as Texas Tech. So I think when you lose a top three team or top five, I believe at the time, both times, they had four both times. They lost to them. They didn't lose to anybody else. I feel like they should still be a 12 seed over someone like James Madison or Tulane. Now that is not a shot at either of those teams, but that's how I feel because I feel like BYU earned that. However, it's not the case. BYU plays Georgia Tech. That's a very interesting matchup. I think it's going to be a really good game. I do think BYU is a little bit just physically better, so I think they win that one. Virginia, Missouri's up next. Virginia should beat Missouri. That's not to say Missouri's a bad team, but I think Virginia does beat Missouri. But that's gonna be an interesting matchup. I don't know how many times they've played each other, but can't have been much. So could be an interesting game. Houston LSU is gonna be later on that day, at 9:15 p.m. I would assume that that's Eastern time, so that means they're probably playing West Coast in a West Coast whatchamacallit, West Coast stadium, if I remember correctly. I could probably look this up if I wanted to. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Oop, oop. I hope that was a commercial. Um, but yes, that game should be interesting. Houston LSU. I want to say Houston wins that game because LSU is just going through so much right now. Lane Kiffin is taking over there, but yes, Houston should win. I think there's a lot of disappointment coming out of LSU right now. So, but hey, kudos to them for making it. San Diego State, North Texas. I think North Tech was playing that Saturday at 5:45. Though Texas should win that, no problem. Pittsburgh or East Carolina, Pittsburgh should win. Army West Point facing UConn. UConn is surprisingly good this year, but I think Army wins that. Clemson and Penn State. That's a very interesting matchup. Teams that have wildly underperformed in so many ways. However, I think that Penn State is determined to try to recover a little bit of their season and pull it out at the end. And Clemson's not a bad team to do it against. Um, Cade Klubnik has been a disappointment, and I don't think he's got much of a chance of recovering this season at least. So I think Penn State probably pulls out over Clemson in that game. Fresno State and Miami. Uh, yeah, sure, Miami. Uh, and later on, that's this is 12 days from now, so I'll cover this one, and then I'll kind of keep going down. But I'll probably do another video about more about these games as it gets closer. App State's playing Georgia Southern on the 29th, and on New Year's Eve, or no, sorry, the 30th. Sorry, man, I'm getting old, tired. TCU is playing Southern California on the 30th. That could be a really interesting game. I think Southern California, USC, Southern California should absolutely steamroll USC. TCU, sorry. USC should steamroll TCU. They're just not ready for that kind of stuff. USC is underrated. I really think they're better than 16th in the country. So they're an underrated team. I think they win that easily. Louisiana Tech is playing Coastal Carolina. I mean, good, Louisiana Tech should win that. And kind of a moderately fascinating game, but probably doesn't get the attention it may deserve. But Illinois is playing Tennessee, and I think that's a Big Ten SEC matchup that probably deserves a little bit more attention than we're giving it. So, and two teams that while they did underperform during the season, I think they could put on a show. Could be a high scoring matchup. So I think Tennessee probably actually wins that one as much as I would like to see Illinois win it for the Big Ten. And of course, Wednesday is when you're getting whoever's the winner of some of the previous matchups for the playoffs will play Ohio State on uh, New Year's Eve on the 31st of December. And then I will I'll do kind of a breakdown of the Michigan Texas, I believe it's Citrus Bowl that those two are playing. I'll do a breakdown of that in the upcoming video. And then quick do the last couple ones for the end on the 31st this year. Vanderbilt's playing Iowa. I think Vandy wins that one. I don't think Iowa's can keep up, but Iowa's not a bad team. So I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Vanderbilt pulls it out. Little quick side note on that. Diego Pavia has really tarnished his reputation by saying some of the things he has said and done. Everybody loved Vanderbilt until he started talking. If you're watching this, if you are a younger person, sometimes it's best not to say anything. If you have a stage like that, sometimes being the rebel, being the Johnny Manziel isn't always a good thing. There are certain people that can get away with that. He is not one of them. We all liked him until he started running his mouth. So sometimes not the smartest option. Utah plays Nebraska. Some drama there with Dylan Raiola entering the portal. He probably will not be with Nebraska next year, so that's gonna be interesting. But Utah should win that one comfortably. Should. And then Duke, Arizona State. Duke won, I guess, the ACC, but lost in a way because they are facing Arizona State. I think Arizona State should win that quite comfortably. So that is all the games through the rest of this year, all the way down to December 31st. I will do a video kind of more in depth the Michigan Texas one upcoming, and then I'll follow that on to the games through the rest of the year, through the rest of the college season, and how I think they're going to play out. I would like to see kind of how really I want to see how the Oklahoma Alabama game shakes out, and then of course the next one with James Madison, Oregon, and the rest. So how they kind of play out will really dictate kind of how the rest of these videos go. But Also, in regards to some things like Notre Dame being left out of the playoffs is Miami and such on. So, do I think Notre Dame should be left out? No, I don't. However, I understand why. There's the head-to-head loss to Miami, among other things. But also, on the flip side of that, Notre Dame opting out of a bowl game because they didn't make the playoffs, I feel is wrong. I really do. I think that is they still would have had a prestigious bowl game. They still would have had, it's a good look for their players to go. They want to go to the NFL. I think should have been given that opportunity. They, unfortunately, that's not the way it is, and I think I believe there's other teams doing that too. I don't think that's right. I think if you have that opportunity to put tape together for scouts and everything, I think you should. I really do. That being said, they made that decision. That is theirs to make. Um, and yeah, that's like I said, that's for their decision. So we'll see what happens there. And now on to the final thing I want to talk about is the Michigan thing with Ward Emanuel, Sharon Moore. Um, Obviously, if you're following that, Sharon Moore is going to be spending some time in prison. He did some pretty crazy things, and it sounds like he had a mental break and he couldn't handle a lot of stuff that was going on. He did have an affair with a staffer, at least according to reports. There's some other conflicting reports about like a pregnancy and all that, but apparently he did go to her house, threatened to kill himself, among other things. It's tragic, it's a terrible thing, and obviously, we pray for the people involved with that. That hopefully, he's taken care of and he does not is not able to hurt himself and that kind of stuff. Total tragedy. And I know that I see a lot of people on like making fun of Michigan, call 'em, Ohio State Ohio State fans naturally do gravitate to this, and that's not saying they're all bad, but some of them are, and others fans too. Um, Understand that this is less about Michigan, scandal and everything. Michigan got ahead of it for one, and also making fun of somebody's mental health, I'm not sure isn't the best look. You can make fun of Sharon Moore while he was a coach for poor decisions. That's fine. He's open to that's valid criticism, but perhaps making fun of him and now given the kind of gravity of the allegation against him, probably not a good look. So I would just warn against that, and I would say that for any coach. Doesn't matter who it is. What if if God forbid something would happen to Ryan Day of that nature, I would say the same thing. I don't think that's a good look for anybody, and we need to be you know there's a good thing for a rivalry. Good natured. Kind of intense. Some snide remarks and whatever, but making fun of somebody's mental health and especially when they talk about committed suicide, that's not particularly a good look. So I think I would just warn against that kind of thing. But yeah, that situation is ongoing. And speaking of which, the coaching search has obviously naturally begun as a result of this. So I know, if I remember correctly, Kalen DeBoer has said no, and a few other ones. I believe it was the Arizona State's head coach. I believe said no. So Michigan is gonna, really have to put some real effort into this. In res- they're gonna have to get their boosters in line or their financiers, whoever, and say, we're gonna have to put some money into this to get somebody who's top tier. I saw somebody who was saying Kurt Signetti. I don't think he's gonna leave Indiana. I doubt it. Of course, there's all those the wild ones who want to say, "Oh, let's get Nick Saban out of retirement." Definitely not happening. Not in a million years. Urban Meyer's a no, but there's plenty of proven people who can do it. So we'll see what happens. I clearly have no information on it uh, other than what anybody else would have, but it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. So hopefully Ward Emanuel can find somebody and bring him in. Bring him in. It does not have to be a Michigan man, quote unquote, but would it be nice? Sure, but I don't think that is absolutely necessary. I think they need to find somebody who can change the culture around, but still be a good coach and bring these young men up and, academically, all the emotionally fit, all the stuff. That's a well-rounded coach would be good and one who fits the culture or who can create a positive culture and to kind of get Michigan past some of the less than flattering things that have been going on lately. So hopefully that can be the case. But um, yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope everybody's having a great evening and got a nice weekend of sports coming up, football and all that. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good one. And yeah, peace.